Motorboat? You play the motorboat? You motorboating son of a bitch, you old sailor, you.
Following program contains language and subject matter that you may consider unsuitable for children. Parental discretion is advised.
I'm going to pass the reins to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
I think Jackal's Latino, I'm not sure, but he'll give it to you good.
The Jackal.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Inside the Jackal's Head, right here live again on PSN Radio, SoFlo Radio, and all over the internet. And especially now, we're going to have this next hour on YouTube with our guest, the one, the only, the guy I may have hyped a little bit more than I can chew because he's been in ufology for a long time. And sometimes I look at his videos, I'm like, my God, how does one man get so much footage? But he's legendary in ufology. He's been doing this for a long time. Got much respect for this guy, a lot of love for him. I've known him for 15 years. We've had him on SKYWATCHers. He's been on Jackal's Head. He's a very good dude, and he's been doing work out in the desert for a long time, which is very hot. So I don't know how he still looks healthy. The hot desert. My good friend Jeff Woolwine. How the heck are you, my friend? Welcome back to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Petroglyphs in the sky. Now I was talking about this with my friend here, the other guy, Alan, in the background here. You know,
That's me.
my, and he doesn't know what that means. And I was trying to explain to him, but I think it went a little bit above his head, like his hairline and mine, unfortunately. But for him and for the audience, let's clear up the petroglyphs in the sky stuff. And I have also some clips I'm gonna play in a little bit. But I want to really get to this background, so those who are not fully awares can kind of know what that is, and how did you become aware of the phenomenon?
Oh, wow. So this goes back to my childhood. So I've been seeing UFOs in the sky ever since I was a kid. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. And I can remember, seeing these lights in the sky and seeing these orbs above my house. And, going to school, I was in the 5th grade. And one of my friends who was a Native American, I was like, hey, did you see those lights last night? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, my grandfather says those lights live in the mountains over there. And he points up to the west side of Phoenix to the White Tank Mountains. And, growing up over the years, you're seeing these things like all the time everywhere you go. So in 2004, a hunt, I'm finding not hearsay, but actual facts. And it all started in 2004. I was seeing the Phoenix lights on the west side of South Mountain, and we did a number of news reports then. This was before UFO Hunter Show and before Ancient Aliens and before Skinwalker Ranch. And so the end result was we're all seeing flares, and I'm like, you know what? These things are right here in the Valley of the Sun. It's right there next to South Mountain. I'm going to move to the mountain and see what's there. So in 2005, I ventured out to South Mountain, and I was seeing these petroglyphs, and I was seeing these stick figure guys looking up at things above their heads. And, it was like, you know what? We've got strange lights in the sky. Now we have strange markings on the rocks out here. There has to be a connection. So over the past 3.5 years, I sat there by South Mountain and I watched these things come and go from the mountain, and I successfully matched them to the Hohokam Indian rock carvings that's carved over 1,000 years ago on the mountains around Phoenix, Arizona. This is the reason why I call it petroglyphs in the sky, is because Are we seeing crafts in the sky? Oh, this was once I started bringing evidence to the public and to the media, I was matching the UFOs to the rock art, and it was telling us that this was something else. It wasn't depicting crafts or anything to that nature.
Right.
But in what I, came across was something that was, alive. That was my point. That was my opinion, that these things wasn't a craft at all, that there was something else here along with crafts.
Well, let me stop you right there, Jeff, real quick. Um, and I know that he froze up, so I don't know if you heard me, but recently there's been reports of organic UFOs or UAPs in the news, and that's something. Other guy, I don't know if you are following that, but it's like these crab-like UFOs that are flying around, and some people are saying they look almost organic. Have you heard about that at all? Oh, Jeff, I think
Oh,
you're
you
back.
there? I lost
Yeah,
connection.
yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
think it's when you
Okay,
have
cool.
the
Yeah.
video. I think it loses you after a while. But I was saying when you froze there, that it's funny that we talk about this because this past couple of weeks we've had more and more reports of these orb-like crab things, which look very organic, and they're floating around, and they look like they're intelligently driven, and people are reporting that these things could be organically, not machine, and they obviously look alien in nature, not balloons or anything like that. So, how much of that do you know? And I think he's froze again. Other guy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I've got no problem. I don't know why he's gotten frozen.
I think
He
maybe his video connection might be a little bit more than he can handle. Let me see. Let me tell him to turn off the video.
and just run audio. Let's see if that makes a
Yeah.
difference for him.
Because remember, he's on Wi-Fi.
But even so, he said he's using Cox.
Well,
I know there's a Cox sucks joke in there somewhere, but
no. Yeah, but I know Cox internet. I think it's a Roadrunner. Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I thought Roadrunner's someone different, but I know Cox has issues in bandwidth,
Yeah,
especially where he's out in the middle of nowhere. So
yeah. Well, see if maybe turning off his video will help the stream. Yeah, he froze up there. But I mean, look, following up on what he is talking about, it's very weird and eerie to find a correlation like that, because the Indian correlation is maybe hundreds and hundreds, possibly 1,000
thousands.
years old.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you also got to look about what happened to all the other tribes that were living in that area, that just totally disappeared, or maybe they were abducted, and just aren't around anymore. Because you look at some of the ancient, not artifacts, but the archaeology of the pueblos and all the other landmarks where earlier civilizations in the Arizona desert and around that area have lived, and now they're gone.
Mhm. Yeah,
There's there's petroglyphs everywhere, and there's also missing tribes and missing people as well.
yeah. Well, missing people are nothing new. We're kind of like having that issue here now, but there's and also you got to remember, there's a lot of sacrifice with the Native Americans, human
No.
sacrifice.
Well,
How
Native
much is that
Americans.
involving?
Well, Native Americans really didn't have that much human sacrifice. It was more of the Aztecs and the south of
That's
south
who, yeah.
south of the Panama Canal. There are parts of I mean, I watched the movie Dusk Till Dawn. Who knows what's in those ancient pyramids?
Oh my gosh,
You
yeah,
know, we know enough to know that we don't know enough of what's happened in the past.
yeah,
So hopefully he's going to be able to dial back in, and well, not dial, but net back in, and we could add him back into this conversation. But yeah, it's really phenomenal that he's found some type of a correlation between what's flying in the air over Arizona and the petroglyphs that are actually carved into the surrounding areas. That's
yeah,
just phenomenal, and I'm hoping that he could talk more about it as soon as hopefully he jumps back on.
yep.
In the meantime, as I was cracking the joke earlier, I'm wondering if there's any relation to what they're drawing in the sky to crop circles, and I'm hoping to ask him that if he comes back. Other than that, are there any other? What else can we talk about
Well,
till we get him back on?
let's talk about this crop circle connection there, because it's very possible there is. My thing is a lot of the crop circles, they have not been debunked at this point, which have at least a little bit of authenticity to them. Um, a lot of that is out there, and we haven't even deciphered what they mean. So you know, if the objects that are that he's seen are depicted in the rocks have any connection to that, could that help maybe gear a way to like actually decipher those crop circles, and maybe start answering
Who
some of those
knows?
questions? Because there's a lot of really interesting things that almost geometrically, obviously you could look at them like these are marvelous things that we're seeing in the crop circles, but what does that all mean, right? Like,
Well, my thoughts and comments on that is that while we in the public might not have all the answers, I'm willing to bet, not trying to be the conspiracy theorist, but I would think the governments of the world, some of them, especially with how much air traffic they've had, have more answers than we do. The question is at this point in time, which government has the most intelligence on the UFO phenomenon?
yeah, yeah. Fortunately, I think he says his internet went down completely. I don't know. He's answering me on Facebook, but let me try him one more time.
Okay.
If not, I guess we'll go on without him.
No. Well, if we have to, we have to. So it is what it is.
I just sent him a message, see if he can jump back in with audio only. This is why, folks, live radio is always fun to do. This kind of stuff happens, especially on a important show where we're talking about something that is potentially earth changing.
It's the
Like
government that's doing it. It's not us. It's the government.
right.
Blame it all on the government. That's right. It's the government.
Always blame it on them.
That's right.
I think his major issue is like his Wi-Fi can't do audio video.
Yeah, I think
He's
he
not,
was sucking up too much bandwidth doing audio and
yeah.
video.
So he's gonna restart the computer and he's gonna try again. He said so. We will hopefully get him back on here in a minute. Uh, a couple of minutes. It takes a couple of minutes for him to restart, I'm sure. But
All
look,
right.
right now we're in a point in the next couple weeks, before the election happens. And in fact, I was talking about this with my pops earlier about the whole Space Force thing. Right? We were watching a video on Space Force also, and we started discussing about the possibility that maybe this was what Trump was kind of like wanting to lead to a soft disclosure, and maybe this is why they're all turning against them all of a sudden, because they want to keep the information embargoed, as Stephen Bass would say, the truth embargo.
Right.
Maybe they want to keep that going, and maybe that's part of the reason why there's so much push on Trump not getting the office. Where, like I said earlier, that Jamie Rascal guy even said, even if he wins, we'll make sure he doesn't ever become president again. Like, really? Even if the guy wins, so you're saying the votes of the American people don't matter?
Well, for some people, apparently they don't.
Yeah, apparently so. And remember, our liberal friends are supposed to be the party of inclusion, love, and all that stuff.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's like remember the Superman quote, "I'm in it for truth, justice, and the American way," and then later on, when they returned Superman to the big screen, it's like, "Yeah, I'm truth and justice, and the other stuff too." Like, we don't talk about the American way anymore. Like,
Sadly, we don't, because the American way then is not the American way now.
Yeah, well, that too. But hey, I'm all about making America great again. And I wanted to ask Jeff because him being from that side of the country about different topics. Not just his videos and his background, but
Right.
also how Arizona is a hotbed for UFO stuff. Our good friend Travis Walton, of course, from Snowflake,
Yep.
Arizona,
Yep.
and Mike Rogers, who was the driver, a good buddy of mine, and love Mike. I don't know if you have you met Mike Rogers.
With all the people that I get to meet and see, maybe.
Okay, well, Mike is a awesome dude, and I call him the realist. 'Cause
Okay.
yeah, and me and him have been on the air before, and he knows that I use that term with a lot of love, because he's a real dude. Like, I love talking to Mike, and I love talking to Travis also. Don't get me wrong, but the thing I like about Mike is like you just chop it up with him about anything,
Really?
entertainment,
Okay.
movie. Yeah, yeah, like he doesn't just stick to like the Travis Walton experience, which is obviously what he's best known for.
Right.
But it's cool, we get to talk about different topics, politics and all kinds of different things. And he's very easygoing. So, shout outs to Mike Rogers, really cool guy.
There you
If you
go.
guys don't know who Mike Rogers is, in the movie Fire in the Sky, he's played by the guy who played the Terminator, the bad guy, in T2. And he's
Okay.
also in The X Files, Robert Patrick. And
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fabulous actor. And
Yeah. Oh,
he
yeah.
played,
He's an interesting actor. Yeah.
yeah. He was John Doggett on the X Files, and I think we got Jeff back on. Jeff,
Yes, there he is. Hey.
Hey,
the man is back.
Hey, I
There
had
you
a
go.
question that I needed to ask you. Since
Go
we're
for it.
talking about the petroglyphs that are in the sky, the UFOs are creating the shapes that are on the petroglyphs, correct?
right, yeah. And so
Okay.
where did the Native Americans first get this image was, the things that they saw in the sky. These are prehistoric photographs of UFOs.
Okay,
Right.
now here's my question though. Do the other movements of the UFOs possibly coincide with crop circles?
That's a good question. I haven't really studied crop circles as much. We don't get a lot of crop circles here in the
No,
desert.
not in Arizona. Yeah.
yeah,
That'll
yeah.
be
So
good though. Yeah.
I know,
How did the
right?
cloud showed up
Okay,
first of
hang
all?
on, hang on. Then
Yeah.
in that case, do the other patterns that are not on the petroglyphs coincide with the Nazca lines?
Mm,
Uh, that's a good question. So the Nazca lines, I believe, are oriented. When you look at Google Earth at the Nazca lines, you'll see them. They're all oriented to this canyon. Okay.
Okay.
right.
And in this canyon is all these pottery shards. And so basically, what they're telling us is that canyon is the emergence point, is the doorway for these beings. Just like with the spirals carved on the mountains, the spirals are symbol
Uh-oh.
Not
like
again.
to say that it's
There he
doorways
is.
into the underworld.
Right.
Okay.
But on a scientific analysis, they're actually going down into that fault line, into that ley line, into that energy line, into that energy source. So when
Okay.
the spiral ends at a crack, the natives tell us that that's the emergence point. That crack is the doorway. Now, when the spiral is going clockwise, it's the doorway in. When a spiral is going counterclockwise, it's a doorway out. And that means if there's a vortex in the sky, that's when these things just magically seem to appear in the sky. And
Yeah, but
so
couldn't these things be created by the piezoelectric, the piezoelectric energy that's given off by the fault lines rubbing against each other, as we've seen with the San Andreas fault and some other fault lines that give off what we would call Marfa type lights?
okay, so you're trying to you're trying to say that these are it's like a natural phenomenon, like ball
Well,
lightning and stuff
I'm
like that.
asking. I'm not
Yeah.
suggesting. I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
I'm
So
wondering, does that have an effect? When
No,
the
I
UFO,
don't think that would be the case because like the way they're so far up in the sky,
yeah.
I don't think
hang on with
the
fi-
lightning will reach all the way up at that distance and do the
okay,
maneuvers.
okay. So now here comes my other question. When those UFOs are up in the air that we cannot identify, that are over the fault lines, has anybody even looked at the seismometer readings of the nearby earthquake and groundquake registries?
This is all new. When
Yeah.
I first discovered this in 2005, they didn't want to even
2005 is
acknowledge
20
this.
years ago. It's not that new.
I know, right? They didn't even
No,
want
but
to
remember,
acknowledge.
he's not a person who studies tectonic plates. He's not.
Yeah.
No,
We're
but
trying to. It's a
I'm just
ufologist here.
I'm
Different
not
science
trying.
to other guy. They'll
Right,
confuse
right,
us.
right. I'm not trying to debunk anything. I'm trying to corroborate
No,
any
you're just
other
confusing
possible
me, and
evidence.
I'm the host.
I'm just trying to find out if there's any other corroborative evidence that could be synced up to
Oh,
these.
I'm sure there is, but you're just asking the wrong question to the wrong people here because we're talking about the objects in the sky. Now you're talking about tectonic plates and stuff. I'm sure there's scientists that are running those
Well,
kind of
only
measurements.
because you brought up the fault
Now,
lines is where it
hold on,
appears so.
hold on. The question is, can we get a hold of these people and see what their answer would be if they're even aware of like Jeff's research here, which are dealing with a particular part of the phenomenon. So we have to kind of like we the researchers, the journalists of the people in this field, have to kind of like do our homework on both camps. Now, what I love about what Jeff is doing is because he's cataloging a lot of this stuff for years now, so we could have that as background. So when we find the right people, it's like what MUFON does, Jeff, and you know this when they go on to research stuff, they catalog all this information. Doesn't mean like every MUFON person knows about tectonic plates or about everything, but
No, but
it's
what I'm saying is,
information through
sometimes
cataloging.
people are so focused on what's going on in the sky, they don't try and see what other
Right,
anomalies are going on in
and
the
Yeah. So
environment.
that's where we
that's
come
the
from,
next
the
step.
journalists.
Yeah. So that's the next step. So I brought
Right.
all of this to the table, this new discovery on the Phoenix Lights and the petroglyphs, and the reasons why they visit certain types of areas throughout the globe during the changing of the seasons. So this was all new back in 2005. And so now, 20 years later, I've been saying, look, these things, this isn't a craft. Craft are cool. I agree with that. But there's something else here, And so now 20 years later, they're talking about these flying jellyfish. Well, what was I talking about, 20 years ago? So I think it's probably going to take another 20 years for somebody to actually say, wait a minute, what if the fault lines is the energy lines? What if that is the source? So it's just a matter of time.
But the jellyfish looking drones or whatever they are, I mean, I seen some of the footage and I know how to do CGI. I'm aware of how editing works. I Photoshop like anybody's grandparents. I know exactly how it works from decades ago. That's how far I go back. Like babies and pacifiers with Photoshop. So I know how this stuff is done. I know like the sauce, and I can tell you from looking at some of the footage, that's not CGI.
Oh,
That's
right.
not AI. That's real footage. Okay,
Right.
and this is the same thing I've run into with like your footage, Jeff. I know for a fact none of it is CGI from looking at it. I know none of it is like AI because there was no why when you were taking this stuff in 2005 didn't exist according to
Right.
what we know. And I know you're not a person who was into like editing videos like on Adobe Premiere or Pinnacle. You do your stuff, you put it on YouTube, you put your name on it. It's raw, uncut material, which that's the best kind of video evidence that we skywatchers want to see because we can judge what we're looking at. And
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time out there in the field looking up, and I've seen satellites. I've seen some stuff that I've classified as our own black budget stuff that I'm aware of, and then I've seen exotic stuff that I can't, explain what they are. And that's where a lot of the footage I've seen from you and a few of the researchers that have been doing this, where I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of footage which mainstream media should be talking about more.
Yeah.
And I've known for 15 years now, and I'm shocked that still a lot of the mainstream media, it's not showing your stuff, but they're rolling out the Pentagon stuff, which I've seen for the last 8 years as something
Mhm.
brand new, and I'm like, I saw that years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Catch up, guys.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal, because we were led to believe that these UFOs are crafts, technology, because that's what we understand. We understand technology,
Right.
but this is something different. These things are clearly alive. I'm not talking organic. I'm talking about something a little bit different. They're in control of each other. They morph, they ship shape. And like what I was talking about earlier, man, they're going in the mountains. So this is a type of scary stuff. And when I was doing the UFO Hunter show on the History Channel in
Yep.
2007, they said, Jeff, you cannot go saying, entities or light beings or living creatures. You have to say UFOs. They said the public is not ready for this type of discovery yet.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was stuck. I'm like, dude, you know.
How are you on UFO hunters and you can't even say UFOs? Like,
Yeah,
these,
right. Yeah.
these are
And what happened? And what happened? So all now, this is way before UFO Hunter Show. This is way before Skinwalker Ranch and Ancient Aliens.
Right.
But now, what are these shows talking about? Energy, fault lines. Maybe they're not a craft. So basically, they're using my work and not telling the public where they got the information from. But when you search my name on
Those
the internet, you can
bastards.
tell I've been doing this since 2005. And,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that they're talking about now, I proved years ago.
Yeah. No, in fact, and it's funny, the first show, and I've talked about this, that I ever did on UFOs, and we were going back 2008 when I started podcasting, was about the case of Barney and Betty Hill. And then I did one about Travis Walton, and I got really interested in Arizona and that area. And then I remembered your work from, seeing your videos years before. And I was like, let me see what, Jeff has got going on now. And I started seeing more and more of the stuff you're putting out there. And I was, back then, I was like, I definitely got to start doing more shows on UFOs because there's definitely more to this. And I've, had my sightings. I've already done a little sky watching at that time, so I was really into it. But really, your videos motivated me to like do the Sky Watchers radio, which me and the other guy did for a while,
Yep.
because they got me more into sky watching. Because I was like, Jeff in Arizona is picking that up. I interviewed Travis Walton, also from Arizona, from Snowflake, Arizona. There's definitely a lot of activity out there. And we have a couple of clips again that you sent me, which I'm going to get to in a couple of minutes. We're going to discuss them. But give me your take on why Arizona in particular has been such a hotbed over the years, because it's not just what you're finding. Again, it's Travis and a lot of other activity, the Phoenix Lights. I mean, it's like that's a hotbed for UFOs or
It
UFOs.
has it has everything to do with energy, everything to do with these fault lines, everything to do with the ley lines. The whole comms, they were sky watchers too. They tracked these beings in the sky. They knew when and where and how and what to see. So basically, they did all of our work for us. All we have to do is just go out there and understand what they were talking about, have an open
Right.
mind, not just say that this is graffiti, not just say this is a story, but actually listen and look about what they're telling us here. And they're telling us that these things follow the sun, they follow the seasons. That's exactly what's going on out here in Tucson, is they're following the seasons. I started filming these things back in May over Mount Lemmon. And what's behind Mount Lemmon, I believe I sent you a diagram, but there's
Mhm.
huge canyons there.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
energy canyons there, right? And it started off in May, and now we're in October, and they've moved completely to the east side now, at different times. So as the seasons change, so do these beings. These beings are following the seasons. They're following the sun.
Right. And I mean, what do you think we have to do to have people pay attention more to these things in the mainstream? I mean, what do you think is blocking them from focusing on these things? Really,
Uh,
seriously.
I think it has a lot to do with people are looking for spaceships. People are looking for
Right.
crafts. And
Yeah.
so when they see a light in the sky, they just think, oh, well, it's got to be a flare. It's got to be an airplane. They're not really understanding what they're looking at. They see
Or
something
it's
in the
got to be
sky.
metals and bolts, basically. This is literally something
Yeah,
metally and bolts.
right,
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
if you start coming out and saying, well, maybe this is something different, they turn you away. And it's unfortunate. There's so much disinformation out there, especially what happened 1997 of the Phoenix Lights. There's no evidence of anything flying over the city of Phoenix. I mean, we've got sky watchers ready that night. That's the reason why we have footage of what really happened that night, is because we had sky watchers ready for something to happen.
Yeah.
So my point is, if anything was going to fly over the city of Phoenix, 8 miles an hour, a mile long V-shaped craft, someone would have got it on video. To this
Yeah.
day, there's no evidence of that. And what we do have is 4 videos out of thousands of witnesses, 4
Yeah.
videos of lights on the west side of South Mountain. So
Yeah.
that's the problem here. It's CGI craft and CGI BS, and it's overtaking what's really here. And that's a shame.
You know, I don't know if you know this, but there's a very famous actor who was a pilot also, and he was one of the first people that
Yeah.
witnessed it. Kurt Russell.
Sure.
Yeah, and he was a pilot, saw the Phoenix Lights, reported it, and it's funny because he's come out public and talked about it, and you would think that when you have Kurt Russell saying, "Yeah, I saw this happened," that the mainstream media would not do this and make jokes about it, like the one time that was it the governor that brought in
Yeah.
the fake alien.
Yeah.
I'm
Cy
like, why would you
Simonton,
do
yeah.
that? Yeah,
Yeah.
what would you do that? That's ridiculous.
Because he
Right.
got paid, his reelection campaign got a decent donation suddenly from someone who wanted to make sure that he made fun of it.
Sure.
Yeah, that has to be it. Yeah. Now I do want to get to some of the clips here, which we're gonna play here in the background, and the one I'm gonna start with is the one that you did just recently on the 9th, a few days ago, and again, this is set this up. This is October 9th at 3 in the morning, and it was over the mountain, right?
hmm
Okay. This is over Tucson, Mount Lemon.
Yeah, Mount Lemon. Yeah, it's actually behind Mount Lemon. So
Right. So we're looking at the footage now. Now I'm looking at the very beginning. There's a huge orb in the very beginning of this film. We're putting the first couple of minutes here, and I mean I've seen airplanes, I've seen satellites, I've seen UFOs. That is not an airplane. Now I've actually, and I've done this before, Jeff. I faked a UFO with an airplane. It's rather easy to do. What you do is when the airplane's coming towards you, you
oh
record,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it looks
yeah,
like an orb, and it's just
yeah,
like sitting there. But it's sitting there stationary as it's getting closer. The orb gets a little bit bigger, but that's it. This is
yeah,
moving sideways.
yeah.
This is not the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
This is no airplane. I can tell you
Right.
that much. An airplane does not illuminate that much from the side as it's
Mhm.
flying to the side. It just doesn't happen. So as a sky watcher, a knowledgeable one, I also can tell you that they don't just shut off lights and turn them back on.
Right.
So
Mhm.
talk about this a little bit. And you just shot this a couple of days ago.
I've been documenting this stuff ever since May. So in May they started off at midnight, and then over the months they've been changing. Like they started off at midnight, and then all of a sudden 1 o'clock, then 2 o'clock. Now we're into October, and they're coming in at a little after 3 now over here
Yeah.
on the east side.
And
Really?
it's not just one. It's like when you look at the video and you keep watching for about a minute or two, you start seeing like really large, objects,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. I mean, they just start showing
Yeah.
up.
Oh my
Airplanes don't
goodness.
just show up out of nowhere. Okay,
They're
guys. So
just
yeah,
falling
limited
out of the
airplane.
they're just falling out of the sky, man, going over that mountain. And you'll notice when they get brighter, they're going over that energy spot. They're absorbing that energy. That's why they get so bright. And all of them come over that spot and absorb that energy, and then they go away, and then more come down. It's crazy. I've been watching this since May, and it's really something to see.
Yeah. Now, what I'm thinking here, Jeff, and this is just my observation because we're talking about these over certain energy lines. I'm thinking these crafts show up there a lot is because they, like you said, they're absorbing the energy, and that's refueling them. This is how they refuel, and
Oh,
it's
you
very
said the C
similar.
word. You said the C word, not crass. They're not crafts. This is
No,
not
no, no.
technology.
No,
These
no, no, but
beings,
it's just whatever these things are.
yeah,
It's just
creatures.
my old school way of like observing these things. But
Yeah, sure,
I,
sure.
you know what? But it's like when I've seen some objects near the sun, which have been posted before, where it looks like it's sucking energy from the sun on a plasma level, and they also have an orb look to them. They look organic, and this is done by the way. It's not that I'm looking directly at the sun because
Yeah,
I'm
but those
blind.
sun suckers are so flippin' huge. Some of them are almost as big as a planet.
That's what I'm saying. These are a lot smaller, obviously, but they're doing probably, I think, the same kind of thing here on a local level. That could be like some kind of like a huge orb that's floating around. Now there is precedent, okay, to organic material being able to survive in the vacuum of space. There's I forgot the name of it, but these tiny little microbes that we know survive in space. And in fact, if you watch
Tardigrades.
tardigrades, there you go, thank you. See, that's why I have him as the sidekick there, Jeff. You see, that's what he does.
I'm a wealth of useless knowledge.
Yes. If anybody out there watches Star Trek Discovery, this is how they make these huge jump stocks. They have a huge tardigrade like thing. Now I'm wondering, could that be what we're witnessing here? Like you said, these organic things might not be, nuts and bolts crafts. Could these be like they were saying, actual creatures? They could live in the vacuum of space, come and go as they please, because they are not, trapped by our, Earth or the atmosphere or space. They're not stopped by anything because they're just this is how they are built. And we as human beings, I think we have to get to like the point where we have to accept that as a possible reality that this is also possibly what we're going to encounter in space. And it's not just gonna be we're going to get to the planet and we're going to see life on the surface. It's going to be very exotic and different no matter where we go because it's outer space. We don't know what aliens are like, So
Well, first of all, to answer this question, I believe what we're dealing with isn't from outer space, but from inner space. I believe that these creatures is their planet also. They've always been here. This is their home. This is what the Native Americans has been telling us all these years. And when
yeah,
they go up on the mountains, they talk to the spirits, blah, 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 blah. These things have always been here. These things, this is their home. I think instead of looking in outer space, we should start looking in our own backyards. That's what I'm
agree.
doing here. I live right by this mountain. And this is twice now. I live by South Mountain. I saw him. Now I'm living by this mountain, and I'm seeing this is the source. This is where the energy is. This is their home.
So look at it this way.
And
Instead, really and truly.
another thing, hold on for a minute. Another thing is these are not organic. This is not organic. You cannot kill these things. You cannot shoot them or anything like that. When what we're looking at are the exact same beings, exact same creatures that our ancient ancestors saw. So these things have been around thousands of years. They don't die.
Right.
They have always been here.
Well,
So
can I interject here?
yeah, go
Um,
ahead.
if
Kelly,
they,
yeah, go
if they if they've been here for that long, while I don't believe in the hollow earth theory, as we've learned from geode rocks, there can be spaces inside the crust of the earth and even deeper that are hollowed out, like that are incredibly large that things
Yeah.
can live in that we've already found, biodiversity, we've
Well,
seen,
you look
you know,
deep
we've
enough in the ocean, you're gonna find, creatures that look baffling to us, even luminescent creatures. Look, Admiral Byrd, if you believe the story of Admiral Byrd when he flew over Antarctica, said he saw, a city with, beings and all kinds of things. I believe the planet Earth has a lot more mysteries that we have not solved, not just in caves and within the earth, but under the ocean. We know less about the ocean floor than we do about space. And we know a lot less about the inner earth than we know about space. We also know less about the inner dimensions, dimension wise, and I'm not talking about like size, I'm talking about like inner dimension, outside of this dimension, the next dimension, fabric of space and time being a dimension, the whole 9 yards. We're still scientifically at, civilization type zero, as Mitchell
we
Kaku.
know nothing about
Yes.
everything.
But then again, we're trying to explain this type of phenomenon with what we understand. And you're saying, well, there's got to be spots, that some kind of being can survive within the earth. We're not dealing with something like that. We're dealing with something completely different. They have the capabilities to absorb themselves into the stone. Okay, this is where technology and bio stuff goes out the door. This is not, some kind of biological entity. This is something different. Okay,
Yeah, it's
this is
completely
scary
exotic, different.
stuff. To be honest with you, I've seen these things in the daytime. I watched them come at me from South Mountain in Phoenix. I call these things monsters, man. They are very scary. This is the reason why the government is never going to come out and tell us what's really
Agree.
going on here. Is
Yeah.
because this is something that humans, mankind, has lost touch with. And why is that? It's because they have lost the information, or has overlooked the information on what history says these things are, as far as biblical texts, Anunnaki scrolls, and the Essene scrolls, and all this stuff that we read. I look at this stuff as the 3 points of credibility. One,
Yeah.
we can read about these things from 3 to 7,000 years ago, and then 2, we can go off on some of these holy mountains and actually see the prehistoric photographs of what these scrolls and ancient rock stuff is talking about. And then 3rd, we are seeing these stuff for our own eyes, for our own self. So this is where the credibility consists at. And when you put all this factor into it and you look at the history of these things, it's not a good history. That's the reason why they're not talking about it. Because what happened to the Hohokam Indians? Well, Hohokam is a Pima word for the people who are gone, the people who got taken away, because that's what the oral tradition says happened to these people here in Phoenix, Arizona. And this is what the petroglyphs depict, is these orbs coming down and picking people up and carrying them off into the sky. This is what the Phoenix Lights consists of. This is the truth. This is where the evidence consists of.
Do you think that might have something to do biblically with like the whole Left Behind idea?
Oh, I believe totally that these things are biblical. I mean, it's straight out of Genesis 6. All right. I'm not talking about religion.
But
but I'm
it's
talking about
documented
what the stories
thing.
are talking about. And
Right,
the stories
right.
are talking about what we are seeing carved on some of these holy mountains.
Match up, yeah.
Exactly. Giants, altars,
Yeah,
gold, sacrificing. That's it. That's Phoenix, Arizona.
yeah. Now, did you follow at all what happened in January here in the South Bay Mall in Miami? Where no, okay, this was crazy, Jeff. There were sightings of 10 to 15 foot tall black creatures, huge alien, some grayish, but mostly like they looked like they were like some black blob, and they were like walking and taking shape and morphing into, and like some people took footage inside the mall, and it was very weird because most of everybody who reported what they're seeing said all of like their cameras and the electrical stuff in the mall like went dead, right? But some people were able to capture footage right before the electrical equipment went dead, and you can see some of the things walking around. There is helicopter footage from outside, which show what looks like giant beings walking around the mall. And here's the crazy part: hundreds and hundreds of police officers were sent out to the mall. And I've never seen that here in Miami before in Bayside Mall. It's right near the airport. It's like a terrorist activity was happening. Talking about like the entire street of leading to the mall was full of nothing but cops and a rush to get there. They circled the mall, shut everything down. They moved everybody. The only other footage is the one from the sky cam, which you could see like some like weird giant looking things walking around, and the rest has been like swept under the rug. Now this happened around the same time a lot of people were talking about the one in Vegas, where the young kid Angel came out and said that he saw giants also over there.
Yeah.
And supposedly they came down in a lightning ball or something like we were seeing here on these videos, and there was no crafts or anything. It just appeared, these giants. And I'm thinking that's all interconnected. These might be the same kind of beings that you're seeing for crying out loud, especially the ones that are morphing inside the mall.
I doubt it. I don't think. I
We
think
never know.
Yeah.
Stranger things happen.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Now, it's crazy, but we have another video here, which I also want to get to. But the one I was playing on 10:9, this one part in this video, Jeff, which really, like, to me is like anybody who's watching this, you have to go to about 2 minutes and 45 seconds in, and there's one object right in the very top which starts glowing really bright, and that is to me a clear indicator of an object which is controlled by intelligence, not natural. I've seen ball lightning, does not look like ball lightning to me as an observer of many, instances. This looks like something artificial, or as you say, it could be something that is alive,
Mhm.
but it definitely looks like it's not your conventional aircrafts as we know airplanes and satellites, for example. Like I've seen hundreds of satellites, and unfortunately, I
This
can
ain't one of
detect them.
them.
No, I can see them with like my naked eye at this point and be like, yeah, it's a satellite.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, they're easy to spot. Once you do enough sky watching, it's over. You know exactly how
Yeah.
the potatoes made. You know how the French
That wasn't
potatoes
one
are
of
made.
Elon Musk's little Starlinks.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. But now you did more footage on 1011, which I wanted to get to because I know we only have a few minutes left in the show here. And that also has a couple of minutes which we're going to run here in the background, and has also very, very interesting footage. And are you going back periodically and looking at some of these stuff? Because even when you watch the very beginning of this interaction, which is what I'm looking at here, with one really, really big object, and then another one smaller one passing right on top of it. Are you going to be doing more and more footage and uploading them to YouTube? Because this is really, really good stuff, Jeff.
Thank you. All I'm doing is watching them and filming them. They're doing all the magic, man. It's crazy.
That's how it works, yeah. But now this is the last few days. Hopefully it picks up and maybe you capture like something even crazier. But we definitely want to like post more of this stuff with your permission. I'm gonna
Oh,
post
sure.
your
Yeah.
links
Oh,
to make
yeah.
sure that people are becoming more and more into like what you're capturing. I'm gonna put a playlist together, also on my YouTube, which your videos. Now I'm not gonna like download them and put them on my page and steal your hits from you. No, no. I'm gonna make the playlist link into your page,
Thank you.
so we're
I
cool,
appreciate that.
and that's gonna hopefully get you more hits also. But I'm gonna post that on my website, so people can look at these that might not be able to see them or have not found them before. Because I think there's really good stuff here that people again need to start talking more about as we get more and more deeper into this thing. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We are the ones that are going to bring real disclosure to the planet. Don't wait for the government. Don't wait for the magic men and the men in black outfits to bring out, the secrets.
We're from the
Don't wait for
government. We're here to help.
yeah.
Sure, we
Uh,
believe you.
don't wait for a spaceship to crash in or land in the White House, which I would love for that to happen, but it'll never happen. Which, by the way, Jeff, wouldn't it be really funny if like a giant mothership one day just lands in the White House and land in the lawn and right and like like we always joke around the front lawn, the ship lands,
Yeah.
the door opens, and here comes
Yeah.
these aliens, and all of a sudden all the cameras they're waiting for like what's coming out, and then like 15, 20 foot tall like Native American looking dudes walk out, and they're like, yeah, it's been a fun ride for you Americans, but we're here to take back our land.
Right. Right.
How do you do,
Right.
huh, America?
Mhm.
We're bigger and stronger. We're here to take back our land.
Right.
I mean, that would be, I think, at that point, Americans will be like, "Oh, it's a fun ride." It
Yeah.
was good while it lasted there 300 or 400 years, and
Yeah.
we'll overlook all the other negative stuff. But it was fun to last at least 100 years. We had the technical revolution. Now we got to come to our 25-foot Native American masters.
Right. Right.
That'd be the joke on us. But I mean, I'm looking again at this footage, man. I really hope you put more, footage out there. Continue your work. Again, let's give out the way that we can contact you as we're narrowing down in the last few minutes. the way people can, make sure they look you up. I know it's Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the sky, but the website, please, on your voice, saying it for the audience. I've already said it before, but I want you on record. Give me the link. Go for it.
Okay, thank you. Well, the best way to get a hold of me right now is on Facebook, Jeff Woolwine, Petroglyphs in the Sky. And then, my YouTube channel is called The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. It's all one word. There you can see everything that I've been doing for the last 20 years, anywhere from radio shows, news reports and TV shows and a lot of sightings, even my own show that I do that I put together. There you can find my books, find them on eBay and Barnes and Noble. And, thank you so much for having me. You guys are awesome.
No, man, you're always, welcome. I love having you on. It's been way too long. I know I took my hiatus because of health issues, but I'm back now. And, as, the end of this year rolls around and we're, nearing a very instrumental and important election. And then who knows what the future brings with Space Force and all the stuff that, we've got going on. And I definitely want to have you back on more and more. So
Thank you,
God
sir.
bless, man. Thank you for being you. First of all, thank you for doing your work for the last 25 years or 20 plus years or
Thank
however
you.
long you keep going because it's very important to ufology. As a person that, not only has been to symposiums with my co-host here, and we've been to MoFon stuff, we've interacted with Stan Friedman, Kathleen Martin, big names. Wish one day we could meet you also and take a couple pictures and talk in person and chop it up and maybe see some interesting objects in the
That'd be
sky.
great. That would be awesome.
But we definitely want to have you back on, man. You've been awesome. And
Thank you, brother.
next time, we'll hopefully get a little bit better signal from the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah.
There you go. Jeff, love having you on, man. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I know it's
Thank you.
hot over there, and you're gonna go back tonight and do some more sky watching, right?
They're further east and they're coming in at 3. So yeah, I'm gonna take a look and I'm gonna be uploading what I filmed last night also. Well, actually this morning. So yeah, look for that soon.
Cool. As soon as you got any more footage, send my way because I'm gonna post them on the website on the playlist.
Great, thank you.
Remind me, keep me updated. We're gonna have you back on here very soon, hopefully, and we'll continue chopping it up with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Love
Thank
and Jan. Take
Talking
care.
with you.
All right,
Yeah.
take care.
There you go. The world famous Jeff Woolwine himself.